Hey there, folks. It's Michael from Soul-utions Wellness, and I just wanted to chat with a few of you to talk about things that are coming a lot for people these days. And obviously, we're in the midst of a major crisis, and I've noticed that this crisis, it's easy to fall into the seduction of fear and to see only the surface of what's going on here, to see only what is easy to measure and define, which is a very huge inconvenience for all of us in our daily routine. There's also fear of the future, like where are things going to go and what is the unknown that is upon us for humanity, not just for our individual personal lives, but for the whole world. And I'm excited because I want to share with you a couple of things. First of all, let's try to look beyond the surface of what's going on, because part of what wisdom is being able to see the bigger picture in the midst of the smaller picture, meaning the daily routine. Can we stretch our perception to see what's really happening? And these are some of the positive things that I've shared with friends and family recently, because a lot of people get so enamored and seduced by this fear and anxiety and stress of the changes that's taking place. So one of the things that I find really fascinating is that the world has never come together like this to prevent something from happening, to prevent this, in quote, invisible war. We've come together for other causes, but not to the degree that it's happened. And it's not just a few countries coming together, it's the entire planet. And that can be very exciting. And another thing that I think is very positive is people are shifting and lifting their priorities. They're stopping and thinking about what really matters in life. You know, the drive to succeed and to create money and to do all the things that we're so programmed and conditioned to believe is what we need to do to be successful. Well, without health and well-being, without your own personal routine of wellness, then it doesn't really matter how much success and how much money you make and all those other things. So this is putting things into a different perspective, which I hope people will take to heart and consider finding greater balance. And it's an opportunity for those in their daily routine, which has been completely disrupted, to pause, to push in the clutch, to reflect and to review and to take some time to look at what really matters. So that's another very positive thing coming out of this. A third thing I notice is the level of creativity and compassion. Yes, the compassion and the creativity is really born of necessity, but it is awakening in humankind. I see a lot of compassion, a lot of caring, a lot of love, and I think that's something very important for us to remember. And then another component of what is positive is our elderly. You know, growing older myself as a man and now in my mid-50s, as you sense the elderly in our society, specifically in the United States, is often something that's just cast aside. Like, oh yeah, those are my great grandparents, those are my parents, that doesn't matter anymore. And I'm noticing that this forgotten part of our society has been revigorized, re-energized. People are starting to realize what really matters here. And compared to other cultures, as I mentioned, the United States tends to discard people if they grow to a certain age and they're no longer, quote, productive and useful. And it's now our priority to protect them and to give them the message that they do matter. And as the baby boomers are expanding, obviously, and they're in their 70s, they're in their early 80s, 70s, and even late 60s, those people are the ones being affected. And they often are the ones who were a big part of building our culture and society today. And they've often been set aside. So I think that's very important to remember. Now let's talk about how to change. How to create positive changes. Now, many of you have heard me say this in the past and have written articles about it, but all change produces chaos. If it's a big change, then there's a lot of chaos. If there's a little change, there's a little chaos. But chaos is a part of change, and yet all of society and all of the world and all of our conditioning and upbringing tries to protect us, from experiencing change, but not knowing that, trying to protect us from experiencing chaos. Yet we have a negative connotation that chaos is bad and wrong, but it's not. It is necessary for change to happen. And when we can realize, okay, a part of me always wants to grow and change and evolve. So there is a part of me that reaches towards change, and at the very same time, there's a part of me that resists and pulls away from change. And it's like an inner tug of war. And it's mostly because we don't realize that if I'm going to create change in my life, I have to go through chaos. It is something that is necessary for me to experience. So chaos is a part of life. And when we can stop resisting chaos and understanding that it's an important part of our development, of our evolution, of growth, I can also anticipate it. Okay, chaos is going to be here. I'm changing jobs. I'm getting married. I'm getting a divorce. I'm having this happen. And chaos is going to be a part of that. And when you can recognize that chaos is a necessary part of change, you no longer have to be afraid of chaos. And you can see the power and the beauty and the importance of chaos because, as I mentioned previously, nothing changes without chaos. And so you can learn to dance with chaos. You can expect it instead of getting sideswiped by it, suddenly not experiencing or recognizing that you're going to feel it. So one of the keys to making positive changes is to know that chaos is going to be there. And what is my relationship to chaos like? Am I afraid of it? So I want you to think about this. Okay, as change is happening in our world and the chaos is there, what are you contributing? What are you bringing into this chaos? Because what is happening while we're in chaos is that change hasn't quite settled down. So what do I contribute? Am I bringing my fear and my anxiety into chaos? Because if I do, then it's going to change the outcome of the results of the change or the future. And it's so tempting to bring my fear into chaos, but when I can learn to understand that it's a part of life, and I can learn to dance with it, and then I can decide I'm going to bring hope for the unknown called my future. I'm going to bring hope. I'm going to bring joy. I'm going to bring a sense of compassion into this chaos rather than my fear and anxiety. And guess what happens? You now elevate the possibility for positive changes in your life, as opposed to bringing my fear and doubt and worry into chaos. And it's a choice we need to make. And just a little note on fear, because fear is rampant in our world. And I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, don't be afraid, you got to be positive, you got to be spiritual. But fear is there to give us a message. Fear is a tremendous motivator. It's there to guide us and to teach us. It's there to help us understand that there's a potential threat. And it's there to help us with our well-being. So don't be afraid of fear. And that's an important part. I don't have to be afraid of fear once I learn its message. And what is my fear trying to tell me to protect myself? Okay, to wash my hands, to take better care, to eat better nutrition, to get deeper sleep at night, to rest, to do the things I need to do to focus on wellness rather than being afraid of illness. And when you can shift from being afraid of illness, taking your power back, get the message from fear, then you can transform that fear into greater value. You can learn to mitigate the energy of fear. And then it becomes a message, or the actual fear itself transforms into value. My life matters to me. My body matters to me. My future, my health, my well-being of me and my friends and my family and the world, it really matters. And maybe fear is there to show us that. And when you can get the message from fear, then you can let it go and you can reduce your anxiety and then go into the chaos with greater hope, with greater trust, with greater anticipation of compassion, having greater compassion. And you know what? None of you are just observing what's going on. Every thought you think, every feeling you have is contributing to the field, to the collective consciousness called our world. And if you want to help the world and you want to have a positive impact, then admit and own and recognize your fear. Get the message. And now that you got the message, let the messenger go. And then focus on generating hope, generating compassion for yourself and others, and generating greater love that you then bring into the chaos. And when you do that, you're going to influence the nature of change. You're going to have impact on the way things fall into place in the future. As this chaos starts to come together and to create a new future for us, I can contribute love that lifts it to a higher octave, or I can bring my fear and anxiety in, which keeps it either the same or diminishes it. It's up to each of us to consider that and to think about that. So as you can do that, it's very important. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be actually coming on here next week, starting Monday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be doing stress management tips. I've been teaching corporate wellness and medical wellness to communities about how to find balance and harmony. And so I'll be giving lots of different tips, talking, and then opening up to questions and answers. But I just had this kind of desire today, this call, to share with you some of these ideas. So let me review for some of you that came in a little bit late. You can also rewatch this. And hey there, Francis and Douglas and Maureen and Joe and different people online here. I'm excited to see you. The recap, really important, is change is going to happen, and it's happening, and it's on a global scale. And that means the chaos is on a global scale. It's huge. And you're not going to be able to avoid the chaos, but what you can decide is, what am I going to contribute to it? Am I going to bring in my fear and anxiety, or am I going to get the message, listen to it, feel it, release that fear, and then focus on the love that is behind the fear? Focus on the value. The value. It's like, fear and love have this relationship. And because you love your future, you love your life, you love your body, you love your friends, you love your family, it's in jeopardy. It's being threatened by this invisible enemy. And instead of letting fear dictate and dominate me, I'm going to take the power back. And I'm going to begin to focus on the compassion and the love that I feel for myself and for others. The compassion, the love, and the hope that I'm going to bring into this chaos that's happening all around us. And when you do, you're going to lift that chaos to a higher octave, and the change is going to be more positive. So I'll leave everyone with that. If anybody has a question, please IM me. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And I'm excited to participate in an amazing time in our lives. We'll never forget 2020. And it's a time that I can be part of the solution or part of the problem. And ignorance and ignoring it and just pretending that nothing's going to change is never going to work. It's up to us to begin changing inside. And it's up to us to also decide, what am I going to emanate? What am I going to radiate? What energy am I bringing into this chaos? Because the energy I bring in is going to determine the end result of the world and also this change that is happening right now. So again, I'll be back next week at 12 noon on Pacific Standard Time for half an hour. I'm going to do a couple of tips on stress management, on wellness tips, whatever I feel guided to talk about. But then also I'll do a guided meditation, about a 15-minute meditation, and then I'll open up to Q&A to answer any questions you might have. So thank you. I'm signing out here from San Francisco, and it's a beautiful day here, actually. Very quiet outside, surprisingly. But thanks for joining, and I look forward to connecting with you folks in the future.